हॅलो, आवाज येतोय? हॅलो. आवाज येतोय का? हॅलो. हॅलो. आवाज येतोय का? स्क्रीन दिसतोय का? बोला लवकर. हॅलो. So, so we'll start today the next topic, that is renal calculus. Okay, stone in kidney, renal in kidney, that is kidney stone, renal calculus. Okay. The etiological factors first we'll see. First factor is dietetic factor. When there is deficiency of vitamin A, that will cause desquamation of epithelium, and the cells will form a nidus around which the stone will develop. Okay, so when there is vitamin A deficiency, when a person is having vitamin A deficiency, there will be desquamation of epithelium. Okay, and this epithelium, the desquamated epithelium or the cells or epithelial cells, they will form a nidus, that means a center. They will form a center, and around which the stone will develop. That means uh, calcium phosphate or calcium carbonate, those salts will deposit on that nidus, that and the renal calculus will be formed. Okay, it is common in poor economical class. I will explain it again. The dietetic factor, that is when there is a deficiency of vitamin A, there will be desquamation of epithelium. Okay, okay, that desquamated epithelium will form a center, that means a nidus. These epithelial cells will form a nidus, that means a center, and around which the salts will deposit and there will be a stone formation. It is common in poor economical class because there will be deficiency of vitamin E. That is the first etiological point. Then second one is altered urinary solutes and colloids. Okay, when there is alteration of urinary solutes and colloids, like in hot climate, there will be concentration of these salts, urinary solutes and colloids, that will be increased. Okay, like in hot climate, and that's why as the concentration of these salts will increase, there will be more chances for stone formation. Then third point is decreased urinary output of citrates. The citrates in urine will help to maintain calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate in solution. Okay, the function of the citrate that is present in the urine, uh, the function of citrate is they will help the help to maintain calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate in solution form, in form of solution. It will maintain calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate in solution. Okay, and when the citrate excretion is, and this citrate excretion is under control of hormones, that's why it decreases during the pregnancy. Okay, this citrate excretion is under control of hormones, so in pregnancy there will be decreased output of citrates, And when there is decreased output of citrate, there are more chances of formation of stone. Okay, this calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate, they will be not in solution form, they will form a stone. Okay, the function of citrate is they maintain the calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate in solution. Okay, so when there is decreased in output of citrate, like in during pregnancy, there will be more chances of stone formation. The next is renal infection. Okay, there are some urea splitting organisms like Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, Proteus. Okay, so in some renal infections, there are more chances of stone formation. There will be inadequate urinary drainage during the renal infections. So, when there is renal infection, and when these organisms like Staphylo or Staphylococcus proteus or Streptococcus hemolyticus, these are present, there are more chances of stone formation. Then next point is prolonged immobilization. In prolonged immobilization, there will be skeletal decalcification. Okay, there will be skeletal decalcification, and there will be increased output of calcium in urine. Okay, because of skeletal decalcification, there will be increased output of calcium in urine, plus there will be a mechanical effect of recumbency on renal drainage. Okay, so in prolonged immobilization means, suppose a patient is paralyzed. Okay, paralysis के patients में he is on the bed for prolonged time. Okay, so and the position of that patient is in recumbency, that is recumbent position. Okay, lying down position. So that mechanical effect will also cause, it will affect the renal drainage, urine output will be affected. So skeletal decalcification, because of prolonged immobilization, there will be increased output of calcium in urine. Okay, as there is skeletal decalcification, there will be increased output of calcium in urine, plus as the patient is in lying down position or recumbent position, that will cause a mechanical effect to on renal drainage. Okay, so there will be collection of salts in the urine, and there will be stone formation. Next point is hyperparathyroidism. Okay, in hyperparathyroidism, in 5% of cases, when there is increased in hyperparathyroidism, there is increased calcium elimination in urine. As there is increased calcium salts, there are more chances of stone formation. And last point is Randolph's plex, that these are the microliths. When there is initial lesion in that in Randolph's plexus, there will be initial lesion in many cases of renal stone. There is an erosion at the apex of one of the renal papillae. Okay, there will be erosion at the apex of renal papillae, and the urinary salts will get deposit on the on that erosion, and the stone will form. Okay, in Randolph's plexus, what happens because of lesion in the renal um, or erosion at the apex of one of the renal papillae, there will be salt deposition, urinary salt deposition on that erosion, and there will be stone formation. Okay, these are the etiological factors of renal calculus or renal stone. ओके, समजले का सगळ्यांना? how the stone will form or the renal calculus will be formed. Once again, I will go through the etiological factors. Okay. First one is dietetic factor, that is when there is deficiency of vitamin A. Okay, in persons who are having deficiency of vitamin A, it will cause desquamation of epithelium, and this epithelium, desquamated epithelium, will form a nidus. That means it will form a center, and around that center or nidus there will be deposition of salts and the stone will develop. It is more seen in poor economical class. Then second factor is altered urinary solutes and colloids. There will be alteration of urinary salts and colloids. In example is in hot climate, there will be lot of perspiration and the urine output will be decreased. There will be the concentration of urine will be increased in hot climate, and as the concentration of urine is increased, there will be the concentration of urinary solutes and colloids will be increased, and that's why there are more chances of stone formation. Next is decreased urinary output of citrate. The function of citrate is it will help to maintain the calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate in solution form. In solution form, okay. But when there is this, and this citrate is under control of hormones. So in pregnancy, uh, there will be decreased excretion, decreased urinary output of citrate, and that's why there will be more chances of store formation, because this calcium carbonate and calcium phosphate, they will be not in solution form, they will form a stone. Then in it is these stones are mainly seen in renal infections, like when there are the uh, bacteria like streptococcus or staphylococcus proteus, they will infect the kidney. These are the urea splitting organisms, and they are so in renal infection there are more chances of formation of stone, as there is inadequate urinary drainage. Then next factor is prolonged immobilization. Yeah, when a person is in prolonged immobilized state, okay, patient is when like suppose a, when a patient is having paralysis, he is in prolonged immobilized state, like he is in lying down posture for long period of time, so it will cause skeletal decalcification, and because of skeletal decalcification there will be increased output of calcium in urine. And also there is a one more point, that is lying down posture or recumbency will have a effect, mechanical effect on renal drainage, and that's why there are more chances of stone formation in cases where there is prolonged immobilization. Next point is hyperparathyroidism. There will be increased calcium elimination in urine, and that's why. Okay, screen दिसतोय ना? Hello? Is the screen visible?
No.
Is it visible now? Is it visible? Okay. And last point is Randolph's plex. That is, there is initial, in many cases, there is initial lesion of that is erosion at the apex of one of the renal papillae. Okay, erosion at the apex of one of the renal papillae. So urinary salts will deposit on that erosion and stone will be formed. These are the etiological factors. Now we'll see the types of renal calculus. First one is oxalate calculus. The content is obviously calcium oxalate. Okay, these are the mulberry stones. It has sharp projections, and that's why there will be bleeding. Okay, mulberry like appearance of stones, that is, those are the oxalate stones. The content is calcium oxalate. These stones will have sharp projections, and that's why there is bleeding. And the blood is precipitated on the surface of that stone. Usually these stones are single. Radiologically, there will be good shadow of calcium oxalate stones will be seen. The early symptoms, there will be early symptoms when it is small in size, it is very hard, and there will be crystals in the urine. Okay, these are the oxalate stones. Once again, I will explain the oxalate calculus or oxalate stones. The content of oxalate stone is calcium oxalate. The appearance of these oxalate stones is mulberry like appearance. There will be sharp projections, and that's why there will be bleeding. The blood, when you see that stone, there will be blood that is precipitated on the surface. These are single stones. Um, when you do the radiological examination, they will show a good shadow. That means in X-ray, uh, they are seen, the shadow of these stones are uh, visible. It is visible. Okay, in radiological examination. Then early symptoms, when the size of these stones are, when the stone is smaller in size, it will show symptoms. It is very hard, and the crystals of these stones, they are found in urine. Then next is phosphatic calculus. The content is calcium phosphate. These are smooth, dirty white color. They enlarge rapidly in alkaline urine, and it will fill the renal calyx. Okay, these stones will fill the renal calyx, taking its shape. Okay, it takes the shape of renal calyces. Okay, and that's why that stone, when it fills the renal calyx, it will take its shape, and the name of that stone is staghorn calculus. The symptoms are late to appear until it takes the large size, until it attains the large size. We have seen in calcium oxalate stone, that is, when this the stone of oxalate, calcium oxalate, the oxalate calculus is when it is smaller in size, it will show symptoms because it is having sharp edges. Okay, oxalate calculus, it is having sharp projections. Okay, that's why when it is smaller in size, it will show symptoms like bleeding and all, pain and all. But the phosphate calculus, it is smooth. Okay, it is very smooth, and it will fill up the renal calyx also, and it takes its shape, And when it takes its shape, that calculus is called as staghorn calculus. It will look like a staghorn. Staghorn म्हणजे काय? स्टॅग म्हणजे काय माहिती आहे? म्हणजे डिअर असतं ना, हरिण, त्याचे शिंग म्हणजे हॉर्न्स जसे असतात त्या टाईप त्याचा आकार असतो. ओके. Staghorn calculus. And the symptoms will appear late as it is smooth, and it will show the symptoms late. Next is uric acid or urate calculus. These stones are hard and smooth. These are hard, but it is smooth. Then these are multiple and faceted. These stones are multiple and they will have facets. The color will vary from yellow to brown. The pure uric acid stones are not radio opaque. Okay, clear जो pure uric acid stones रहते हैं, those stones are not radio opaque. The calcium oxalate makes them radio opaque. Okay, when it is combined with calcium oxalate, when there is uric acid plus calcium oxalate, then they will become radio opaque. The pure uric acid stones are not radio opaque. The ammonium and sodium urate calculi found in children sometimes, and they are yellow, soft, and they are friable. They will easily break. Okay. So uric acid and urate calculus, these are hard, these are smooth, they are multiple, and they will have facets on them. Facets means small depression रहता है. Okay. The color will varies from yellow to brown. Then the pure uric acid stones, they are not radio opaque, but when they are combined with calcium oxalate, then they will become radio opaque. The ammonium and sodium urate calculi, they are found in children and children sometimes, and they are yellow and soft and friable. The next is calculus. Cystine calculus. They are mostly seen in cystine urea. Then it is common in young girls. They are multiple. When there is reduced absorption of cystine from renal tubules, there will be increased cystine in urine, and so this calculus is seen. These are hexagonal and white, and they appear in acidic urine. Okay, so these are the types of stone. Once again, I will repeat types of stones. First one is oxalate calculus. Next one is phosphatic calculus. Oxalate calculus are composed of calcium oxalate. They are mulberry stones, like it appears like a mulberry. They have sharp projection, that's why there will be bleeding, and when it is smaller size, it will show symptoms. The blood, when you see the oxalate calculus, you can see the blood that is precipitated on the surface. These are single. Radiologically, it will show a good shadow. They are very hard, and the crystals are seen in urine. The next is phosphatic calculus. It is composed of calcium phosphate. They are smooth and dirty white color. They will enlarge rapidly in alkaline urine, and they will fill the renal calyx, and it takes its shape. And that's why that calculus will look like a staghorn, and that's why the name, that is staghorn calculus. The symptoms appears late until it attains a large size. Next is uric acid and urate calculus. These are small, hard and smooth, multiple and faceted. The color will vary from color will vary from yellow to brown. The pure uric acid stones are not radio-opaque, but calcium oxalate will make them radio-opaque. And ammonium and sodium urate calculi, they are found in children sometimes. Then they are yellow and soft, and they are friable. And last one is cystine calculi. These are seen in cystine when there is cystine urea. That is when there is increased concentration of cystine in urine. These calculi are seen. They are more common in young girls. These are multiple. And when there is cystine urea, that is when there is reduced absorption of cystine from renal tubules, these calculi are seen. They are hexagonal, white colored stones, and they appear in acidic urine. Now the clinical features. 50% cases are between 30 to 50 years of age, and male as to female ratio is 4 as to 3. Okay, there is a quiescent calculus, that is phosphatic calculus. It is mainly, it remains quiescent, that means it remains dormant for long period. There will be progressive destruction of renal parenchyma in phosphatic calculus as it remains dormant for longer time. That means it will not show any symptoms, signs and symptoms. It will remain dormant, but it will cause a progressive destruction of renal parenchyma, and there will be uremia also in quiescent calculus. Then symptoms are, first one is pain in 75% of cases. There is, the pain is present. The fixed renal pain in renal angle posteriorly, or in hypochondrium anteriorly, or at the both sides at a time. The pain will be present in 75% of cases. There will be fixed renal pain in renal angle posteriorly, or in hypochondrium anteriorly, or at both the sides at a time. The pain will be aggravated by movement and walking upstairs. Then there will be ureteric colic. From loin to groin, there will be pain. It comes suddenly, causes the patient to draw up his knees and roll about. There will be vomiting and profuse sweating in ureteric colic. Then there may be strangury, that is, it is due to stone in intramural region. When there is stone in intramural region, okay, passage of few drops of blood, stained urine after painful straining. That means strangury. There will be passage of few drops of blood, uh, strained urine after painful straining. And this strangury is due to stone that is present in the intramural region. Per abdomen, when it palpate during the attack, there will be rigidity of lateral abdominal muscles due to but not the rectus abdominis. Okay, During attack, when you palpate the abdomen, there will be rigidity of lateral abdominal muscles, but not of rectus abdominis. Sharp pain will be on percussion over the kidney. Then there is tenderness of kidney on bimanual palpation. Okay, so this is the per abdominal examination. And next point is there will be hematuria, that is small amount of smoky urine with blood, and pyria, that is pus in urine may be seen. Okay, so these are the clinical features. Once again, I will explain. 50% of cases, these are between 30 to 50 years of age. Okay, 50% of cases are between 30 to 50 years of age. The male as to female ratio is 4 as to 3. The quiescent calculus, that means the when the calculus remains in dormant period, dormancy for longer time, and the calculus that remains in dormancy, that is a phosphate calculus mainly. There will be progressive destruction of renal parenchyma, and uremia is present in quiescent calculus. So first symptom of renal calculus is pain in about 75% of cases. There will be fixed renal pain in renal region posteriorly or in hypochondrium anteriorly, or at both the sides at a time. It will be increased by movements and walking upstairs. Okay, the pain will be increased by movements and walking upstairs. Then there may be ureteric colic, that is pain from loin to groin. It comes suddenly, that will cause the patient to drop his knees and roll about. There will be vomiting and profuse sweating in ureteric colic. Next symptom is strangury. It is due to stone in intramural region. There will be passage of few blood-stained urine after painful straining. And per abdominal examination will show during the attack there will be rigidity of lateral abdominal muscles, but not the rectus abdominis. There will be sharp pain on percussion or kidney, and tenderness of kidney on bimanual examination or bimanual palpation. There will be hematuria, small amounts of smoky urine will be there along with blood. Then there may be pyria may be present, that is pus in urine. Then next is investigation. First is radiological examination. The bowel should be emptied by giving laxatives. Okay, before radiological examination, the bowel should be emptied by giving laxatives. The KUB radiological examination done during inspiration and expiration. KUB means kidney, ureter, and bladder. Okay, why it is done during inspiration and expiration is during inspiration the kidneys will move upwards, and during expiration they will move downwards. So when the stone is present in the kidney, it will also move along with kidney. On inspiration it will move upwards, and on expiration it will move downwards. So below there are various conditions that can be misdiagnosed for kidney stones. So during investigation or during the radiological examination, the radiological examination should be done during inspiration as well as during expiration, so that the kidney stone should not be misdiagnosed. Okay, so these are the condition. First one is calcified lumbar or mesenteric lymph nodes. They can be misdiagnosed as kidney stones. Okay, if there are calcified lumbar or mesenteric lymph nodes, Okay, calcified lumbar or mesenteric lymph nodes, when they are present at the location of kidney, they can be misdiagnosed for kidney stones. Then if the gallstone is present or concretion of in the appendix that is present, then that can be also misdiagnosed as kidney stone. The drug or foreign body in alimentary tract. Okay, any drug or any foreign body that is present in the alimentary tract, that can also be misdiagnosed as kidney stone when it if it lies in the at the location of kidney. Then phlebolith, when it is present in mesentery, when there is inflamed vein is present, then that can also be misdiagnosed as kidney stone. Or when there is a ossified tip of 12th rib, if the tip of the 12th rib it is ossified, then that can also be misdiagnosed as kidney stone. Or a chief fracture of transfer processes of lumbar vertebra. Okay, the first, second, and third vertebrae, they if there is fracture of those transverse process of those lumbar vertebrae, then that can also be misdiagnosed as kidney stones. Then if the calcified TB lesion in kidney is present, that can also be misdiagnosed. Or when there is calcified suprarenal gland, okay, on lateral X-ray, you can see the calcified suprarenal gland, that condition can also be misdiagnosed as kidney stone. So during radiological examination, you have to do the KUB, that is kidney ureters and bladder examination during inspiration and during expiration, because if the stone is present in the kidney, then it can move upwards during inspiration and it will move downwards during the expiration. But all these disease conditions, they will not move during inspiration or expiration. Only the kidney stone that will move along with kidney during inspiration or expiration. The next investigation is excretory urography. It will also helpful in non-opaque calculus, when the stones which are not seen in X-rays. For those stones, the investigation that is done is excretory urography. That is, intravenous is injected into the vein. Okay, next investigation is excretory urography. Intravenous dye is injected, okay, in the vein, and the radiological examination is done. Then last is cystoscopy, that is endoscopic examination. Okay, these are the three investigations: radiological examination, excretory urography, that is intravenous dye is injected into the vein, and that will show the if the stone is present in the kidney or ureter, etc. That radio. In few minutes, that radiopic dye will go in the excretory system, and that will be visualized under the radiological examination if the stone is present. And last one is cystoscopy, that is endoscopic examination. Last point, that is treatment of renal calculus. When there is ureteric colic, you have to give analgesics. Then there are operative procedures to remove the renal calculus. Pre-operative antibiotics are given. Then via lumbar region, the kidney is explored and it is mobilized. The stone is removed. Stone removed should coincide with the radiological findings. The next procedure is nephroscopy, that is inspection of interior of pelvis and calyces by the ureteroscope. There are various methods to remove the stones, like pylolithotomy when the stone is in renal pelvis, then extended pylolithotomy, nephrolithotomy, then partial nephrectomy and nephrectomy. So in the treatment of renal calculus, when there is pain, you have to give analgesics. Then there is a operation to remove the renal calculus. Pre-operatively, you have to give the antibiotics, and via lumbar region, the kidney is explored and it is mobilized. The stone removed should coincide with the radiological findings. Then nephroscopy is inspection of interior of pelvis and calyces by the ureteroscope. Then the procedure, that is pylolithotomy when the stone is present in the renal pelvis. Okay, so today's homework is you have to tell me what is pylolithotomy, extended pylolithotomy, nephrolithotomy, partial nephrectomy, and nephrectomy. Just tell me the definitions or what what is the procedure of pylolithotomy or extended lithotomy. Procedure not in detail, just what is done in pylolithotomy or extended pylolithotomy, nephrolithotomy, and partial nephrectomy or nephrectomy. Okay, this is the homework for you. होमवर्क कळाला का सगळ्यांना? हॅलो, बोला. हॅलो. अरे बोलो कोई तो भी. होमवर्क कळालाय का सगळ्यांना? हेलो। नाही कळालं, परत एकदा सांगते मी. You have to just tell me what is pyelolithotomy or extended pyelolithotomy, nephrolithotomy, partial nephrectomy, and nephrectomy. Okay, chalo. I will stop here today. Okay, chalo, bye.